Hey guys, it's Mr. B. In this video, I'm just going to give you a basic rundown of how the rubrics work in my class so that you have a kind of an idea of how things function. So if you look at the rubric, it's a lot of writing, but it's not quite as complicated as it seems at first glance. At the top here, there are three sections. The first one says description of a project earning 5 points per category. So if the descriptions in this section match what's on your project, you would get 5 points for everything, which would be an A+. The second section says description of a project earning 4 points per category. So if everything in your project matched these descriptions, you would end up with a C+, roughly. This last section is a description of a project earning 3 or fewer points per category. So if your project matches these descriptions or is unfortunately worse than any of these descriptions, then you would probably end up in the D or F range. Now, it's very rare that anyone gets all threes or all fours. You might have three descriptions that fit in the 5 point categories, and then, maybe you have 1 3, or maybe you have 3 that fit the 5 point ones, and then a couple that are fours. So what I will do when I grade your project is sit down and just read through each category. So let's say for your batik, I would sit down and look at your project and say, your design is symmetrical. That means the shapes and colors of each of your 4 corners have symmetry around the center of the page. And if that was true about your project, then I would just give you 5 points and fill it in here at the bottom. Number 2, you kept a warm or cool color scheme either for the whole project or in symmetrical corners. Now let's say that you didn't. Let's say that this description just did not fit your project. I would go down to the 4 point section and look. You kept a warm or cool color scheme either for the whole project or in symmetrical corners, though there are 1 or 2 small errors with color choice. So say in one corner everything is warm colors, but you had an area of blue. So I would give you a 4 for that section. Then I would go to number 3. You colored thick and dark with your pastels so that the black ink only shows in the cracks in the pastel from crumbling the paper. So let's say that you did well on that, and that description fits your project, then I would go down to category 3 here and give you a 5. Number 4, craftsmanship. You kept your pastel mostly clean. You crumbled your paper carefully with a paper towel over it so the pastel did not smear. Let's say you did that very well. So again, I would go down to category 4 here at the bottom and give you 5 points. And the last one, and this is going to be a similar category on every rubric. Number 5, you gave your best effort and used your class time well for this assignment. Let's say you weren't really on task. We'll go down to the 4 points per category. You mostly gave your best effort and used your class time well, though there were days you struggled to stay on task. Now maybe let's say it was even worse than that. So then I would go down to the 3 point section. You used your class time poorly for this project, or you put forth minimal effort, either through rushing at the end to catch up or rushing at the beginning to finish first. Now let's say you just spent all your time messing around during class and then really had to rush the last couple days to finish on time. So I would give you a 3. So then what I would do, once I have scored each category, is I take these numbers and I add them up. So we have, this would be a 22 out of 25. We have 5 categories at 5 points each, so that's 25 total points. And you lost 3, so that would be a 22 out of 25. So your final percentage would be an 88. Oops. Be a final of an 88%, and your grade would be a B. So what I would do then would I would write in some comments about your project here in this section. And then one thing I would also like you to do before you turn your project in is to score yourself. This row underneath my score says self-assessment. So one thing I'd like you to do, you're going to have a copy of the rubric at the beginning of the project. And at the end, before you turn it in, I would like you to fill in what you think your score is for the project. So let's say you didn't feel your symmetry was very good, but you thought everything in the center, categories 2, 3, and 4 were good. And category 5, even you recognized you used your class time poorly. I will take your scores into consideration in some cases. It doesn't mean I'm always going to give you the score you give yourself, but If I find that there's a big difference between what I thought and what you thought, we can talk about it. There may be cases where I really do take your thoughts into consideration, but I can't promise it's going to happen every time. So that's really the breakdown of the rubric. If you have any other questions about it, please just see me during class time and I can explain further. Every rubric that I have for every project is going to look something like this. Some of them go on to a second page if it's a particularly long or complicated project. But for the most part, it's going to be one sheet that looks like this with the category and point section down here at the bottom. Again, feel free to ask in class, and I'll see you guys at school.